You've got these secret soldiers, right? The quiet professionals. They're the ones you call when diplomacy is off the table and a full-scale war just isn't the answer. We're talking about the world's most elite special forces, and today we're going to pull back the curtain just a little bit to see what makes them so legendary. So, who are these operators and what really sets them apart from everyone else?
Okay, picture this. A packed passenger jet completely taken over by armed terrorists. And it's not happening in secret. The entire world is watching live. The stakes? They couldn't possibly be higher. What do you do? I mean, who do you even call when everything is about to go wrong?
That's when you call in the specialists. These units were literally born from crisis, designed to walk into impossible situations and somehow turn them into successful missions. These aren't just soldiers. They are absolute masters of precision, of speed, and of overwhelming force when it's needed. So first, let's dive into the masters of the impossible rescue. These are the units that often have to operate in the full glare of the public eye, specializing in those incredibly high-stakes hostage situations. First on our list is France's GIGN. That's the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group. They were formed back in 1973, and it was a direct response to the horrific massacre at the Munich Olympics. That event was a wake-up call, showing the world it was completely unprepared for this new age of terrorism. So the GIGN started with just 15 members, focused on being surgical, on precision and restraint, not just brute force. And this was their defining moment. You had 4 armed terrorists who'd seized this plane, and their plan was to turn it into a flying bomb and crash it into Paris. For 3 long days, negotiations went nowhere. Then, the order was given, and the world watched as the GIGN moved in.
The result? I mean, it was just astonishing. In a matter of minutes, all 4 hijackers were neutralized, and, incredibly, every single one of the 173 passengers and crew members were rescued. It's still considered one of the most successful and riskiest airline rescues in history. A total textbook operation.
And, just like the GIGN, Germany's GSG-9 was also a product of that 1972 Munich tragedy. Now, Germany had a unique problem. Because of post-World War II restrictions, their military couldn't operate inside the country. So this highly specialized police unit was created to handle exactly these kinds of threats.
And what's just incredible is how fast they proved themselves. Just 5 years after they were created, they faced a massive test called Operation Feuerzauber. Militants had hijacked a Lufthansa flight, landing it in Mogadishu, Somalia. In a stunning 7-minute raid, GSG-9 operators stormed that plane and saved all 86 hostages. They basically became legends overnight. But here's the thing, not every elite unit wants the spotlight. In fact, most of them operate far, far away from any TV cameras. So let's move from the public eye into the shadows and see how that creates a completely different kind of soldier, one whose biggest wins are the ones you never hear about.
Now we're talking about the operators who specialize in unconventional warfare. Their whole job is to work deep in hostile territory, often with local fighters, and turn the tide of a war from the inside out. And really, nobody does this better than the U.S. Army Special Forces. You know them as the Green Berets. Their specialty isn't just about fighting, it's about teaching, advising, and fighting alongside local forces. Every single operator learns a foreign language, and they become total experts in the culture and politics of whatever region they're assigned to.
This is probably their most legendary modern mission. Right after 9/11, a small team gets inserted into Afghanistan. They have no modern vehicles, so they end up fighting on horseback across these rugged mountains, using laser designators to call in absolutely devastating airstrikes on Taliban positions. It sounds like something out of a history book, but this single campaign helped topple the entire regime in just a matter of weeks. Okay, so flipping the coin over to the other side of the Cold War, you've got the Soviet Union's elite force for this kind of work, the Spetsnaz GRU. These guys were part of the main intelligence directorate, and their mission was pure chaos, sabotage, assassination, and sparking confusion behind enemy lines, sometimes before war had even officially started.
And their track record is full of these just unbelievably audacious missions. Like in 1968, they faked an emergency with their transport plane so they could land and storm Prague's airport control tower without firing a shot. Later, a tiny team snuck onto a U.S. base and literally stole a brand new attack helicopter. More recently, of course, they were the infamous Little Green Men in Crimea.
But it's also worth noting they've suffered some devastating losses in high-risk failed missions during the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. All right, so now we get to the units that kind of mix both of those worlds, the direct action hunter-killers. When the US government needs a high-value target captured or killed, these are the forces that get the first call. Let's talk about Delta Force. These guys are the US Army's top-tier counterterrorism unit. It was actually founded in 1977 by an officer who had served with the British SAS. He came back and realized the US had nothing like it. Their selection process is just notoriously brutal, with things like the long walk, a 40-mile march, where candidates don't even know what the time limit is.
And their resume? It's basically a highlight reel of modern military history. They were on the ground during the Black Hawk Down incident, they were the ones who pulled Saddam Hussein out of that spider hole, and they conducted the raid that cornered the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, leading to his death.
Okay, so from the Army's best, let's head over to the Navy. The SEALs are famous for being able to operate in pretty much any environment you can imagine, from oceans and deserts to the Arctic tundra. Their roots actually go all the way back to the frogmen of World War II, the guys clearing obstacles on the beaches of Normandy.
But this is the mission that sealed their legend in modern times. A decade-long hunt for the world's most wanted man, and it all came down to a single night. A secret raid, deep inside Pakistan. The world held its breath without even knowing it was happening. And when we all found out the next day, it was because SEAL Team 6 had done its job.
So, okay, we've seen what these units do. But that begs the question, who are the people that make it into these impossibly elite ranks? What kind of person can even pass a selection like that? Well, the path to get there is just a brutal process of elimination. And it's all designed to find those few people who are simply unbreakable. It starts with just grinding physical endurance tests that push your body past its absolute limit. Then it moves on to skills, survival, evasion. And it very often ends with the ultimate psychological stress test, resistance to interrogation, designed specifically to break your mind. And this right here, this shows you the brutal reality of it all. For most of these top-tier units, the attrition rate is 90%, sometimes even higher. So for every 10 people who show up thinking they have what it takes, 9 of them are going home. It's this tiny, tiny sliver of candidates who actually make it all the way through. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if we're talking about the GIGN in France, the SAS in Britain, or the SEALs in the US. They all share this common DNA. They were all forged by crisis. They're defined by sacrifice. Their greatest successes are shrouded in secrecy. And at their very core, they are all bound by an unwavering, unbreakable human will. And that really brings us to a final, pretty heavy thought. We live in an age of remote warfare, right? Pilots are flying drones from thousands of miles away. And yet for these missions, the ones that truly matter most, we still ask a select few to physically go there, in person. It really makes you wonder, in this age of technology, what is the true cost? And what does the future hold for that human element at the very tip of the spear?